Hey, Wooden, you want to learn how to land a whale? Too bad, you're coming with me! You, like many Foxhole players, may have seen a white whale landing at some point during a war. Maybe you even managed to take part in one, or land one on your own. I, however, had never seen a white whale in person, or even, knew they existed prior to War 94. And in that war, I decided to prepare a landing and drop some completely unprepared boys onto the beach and reenact D-Day. Allow me to introduce to you the tale of my whale ops and what I learned during War 94. So, what my monkey brain had come up with was the obvious. Land a boat, take a base, hold the base. That was it. So this was the most important part of the op, having a goal. And planning out what you want to accomplish and the steps that you need to take in order to actually complete your goal is the difference between getting mountains of commends and getting clowned on by your whole team in World Chat. So for this, we'd need the correct supplies. That includes shirts, guns, tanks, some PvE gear. The ratio of gear is actually really important to what you're planning on doing. So you see how many shirts I've got in this clip right here. That's not enough for 4 hours of sustained combat at all, and I'm not getting any more mid-op because I'm a solo player who recruits from my suicide mission in World Chat. So unless by some miracle we end up being massively successful, take our objective, and manage to hold long enough for the Logi boys to take notice, we're screwed. We're not going to survive long. Now, we didn't have to worry about last standing until our shirts ran out on the first op, because my first mistake was not making use of the intel at my disposal. If there's a streamer with a moderate amount of views on the enemy team, I would recommend spending the few minutes you need to check where on the map they are before dropping your ship. Because the QRF times on the front are already nearly instant, but having somebody looking at your ship while you land it, and then them telling 100 people to go and QRF it, well, the QRF times are then literally instant rather than nearly instant. On top of that, I was given some very good advice, which I completely ignored, and I landed the whale within 300 meters of an enemy concrete base. This meant that the Colonial 120s could hit us directly from their doorstep, and there was nearly nothing we could do about it. So our op was a complete failure, and there are some pretty important lessons to learn here. 1. Plans and goals. Don't just throw yourself at the enemy without thinking it through. You'll end up landing, getting shelled on a beach for 2 minutes, and then lose the whole push because you've got artillery exists. 2. Intel. Scout out the landing before you fill up your whale and leave. Make sure that you won't get QRF'd as quickly by having you guys destroy any watchtowers on the beach before you land. You also want to check the route, make sure there's no watchtowers that are going to spot you when you're arriving or when you're on your way, because that can ruin the whole op. You also want to make sure that there's no mines on the beach or anything like that. That can really mess it up, especially if you brought like 250s and they stupidly roll over them, or maybe even one of your tanks just immediately rolls onto them. Either way, intel's important. 3. Supplies. Make sure that the appropriate gear is being brought and in the correct amounts. In this instance, we probably didn't need 2 of the 250 push guns. Maybe should have brought another tank or a scout car. If we'd landed in a better spot, I would have also brought another 400 shirts so we could continue pushing, but a little late for that. 4. You want to delegate command of the tanks, satchel rushes, 250s, everything. You don't need to control them. You won't be able to control them, especially if you do what I do and recruit right out of World Chat. You need to assign somebody that knows what they're doing and put them in their own little comms room and give them their goal. Alright, then they can pursue that without cluttering up the comms for everybody else and making it just hell on anybody who wants their eardrums intact by the end. So what does a sensible and rational person do once they've learnt all these perfectly good lessons? That's right, they take a different approach. We build 2 fucking white whales and we throw ourselves at 2 different beaches with more vehicles, more guns, more supplies, more infantry, more. So my plan for this one was to act as an encircling action in Origin, having infantry block off the enemy Logi, and maybe PvE with like a 250 or something like that. The other whale would be landing in Wyatt Wick again. At least it would have, if not for the fact that the crews were a little confused as to the landing point. This is because I didn't tell them the landing point, because I was scared that we were going to get found out by some alt or something like that before the op even started. And the majority of the armor just didn't know where they were going to land. On top of that, queues into Westgate were way too long, so I said, bugger this. We're dropping both boats in Origin. The op went okay. We kind of managed to encircle the colonial concrete base that was there. We lasted a while before a couple people showed up with extra tanks. We were eventually pushed back and our whale got destroyed. Both of them. This distraction turned encirclement was kind of successful in the sense that we cleared the way for the next landing in about 8 hours. And that one I had nothing to do with. They managed to completely take out the collies in the region and, you know, Origin was secure. However, because it wasn't my whale that took it, I wasn't satisfied. So driven by hatred for collies and a desire to run a successful landing and the willpower to scrap and factory dance until the wrinkles in my brain were completely ironed out, I scrapped for hours upon hours until I had what I considered to be enough for a successful landing. I'd waited for satchels, I'd waited for silver hands, and waited some more even, because every factory was too busy printing 300mm shells for me to print any 68s. I gathered up all of my 1,000 shirts, over 500 satchels, 5 silver hands, 2 eats, and I pushed 250. The plan? Land at Surge in Tempest. Take the island and then use this opportunity to cut off the enemies at the island we dubbed Nugget. We would land and immediately begin running satchels at their concrete base that was there. We'd destroy it, do the same with the relic base, and roll on up through the relic. Before I could launch the op, I met Mounted Ant Dan from the Clan Ant. He said he'd put guys on my op as long as I joined the clan and joined his Discord and then ping a bunch of people in it. You know, I was all for it. I met this guy named Sony Chan there. He was from 140k, and we learned our most important lesson of all here. Just join a clan, or make sure that you have a group of people that are on board, know what's going on, and are willing to assist for up to like 2 hours before you start the op. Don't just recruit out of world chat like I've been doing. It's completely ineffective. Sonny liked the idea of landing at Surge, and he had some input on what we should do in order to stop the collie counteroffensive once we'd started. What he wanted to do was take some wardens, give them a bunch of satchels and an APC, and get them to go blow up all 3 of the bridges connecting to the Surge Island before we even landed. This was an excellent idea. Sony also contributed by enlisting a bunch of other clans to help fill out our ranks, so we had them crewing tanks and being in infantry or just running boats, doesn't matter what it was, it helped tons. So we had crew and a delaying action prepped. He also helped supply a ton of BMATs and satchels and shirts. I think we had an extra 15,000 BMATs added to the op just because of that, AT weapons and other support materials. After we finally made it through the queues, we got our landing force in the Hex. The demolitions of the bridges was mostly successful as we'd taken down around 2 of the 3 bridges at the beginning of the op. We left the bridge to Nugget Island actually intact. The op was on, and our tanks immediately ran into mines.
Go, let's go!
Observation tower, dead ahead, east, 80 meters! AT pillbox, 62 meters!
We've been tracked!
East. Hold back! AT pillboxes! We're getting hit by an AT pillbox, don't fire!
Wait,
But it was fine. Except that the same tank then ran into enemy AT garrison range about 2 minutes later and fired upon the garrison. This immediately destroyed the tank essentially. The crew was a bit inexperienced, it wasn't really their fault.
Down the road, driver!
Lots of game on!
Hold! Driver, reverse! Chill, do not fire at AT!
Oh, wait.
Do not fire at the Spitzer box! God damn it, chill! You fucking
I'm bleeding!
God!
Bro, you didn't tell me!
Chill! It's a fucking common thing to know, don't shoot AT!
Bro, I'm not a noob. Bro, I'm pretty new to this game.
If you are new to the game or just inexperienced in tanks, don't fire on AT garrisons. They're the ones with the big cannons on top and they'll pretty much instantly destroy you, or at least seriously maim your vehicle. You shouldn't shoot any of the buildings that are connected to them either. Doesn't matter if it's not an AT garrison that's connected to it. If you shoot it in the tank, the AT garrison will return fire. Anyways, the satchels and the cutlass started hitting enemy concrete, builders started digging in and building fortifications, and most important of all, we had people spawning in on our location. Somewhere along the 3-hour journey, the iron ship that was carrying the EATs and the 250 push gun just disappeared. So that's another lesson learned. Make sure that the iron ship driver doesn't log off or, you know, go and take a 2-hour dump at some point during the op. So while we were pushing the front, we also managed to send some cutlass squads around the side of a mountain to hit the collies from behind. We destroyed one of their bunker bases, and we also managed to take out an amphibious personnel carrier.
There's one of those landing things blowing.
Battle barge up, battle barge up.
They've pushed us way back in the south.
When another APC tried to cut off our logi, someone took the initiative and actually managed to assemble a barge crew to deal with that as well.
It's an APC. Go slightly right.
Sticky's ready.
Give it daytime, we can rule their defenses, but for tonight,
Right.
there it is, right. Don't go into firing machine guns unless you have the satchel.
Fuck him up, left side.
If you don't have satchels, use cutlass.
Seal it.
Got it.
Good job.
It's dead.
So, are you guys going to use the APCs or are they just...
So this is another lesson. If someone has a plan, you should probably just follow them. It's more fun, and it might even work. If it doesn't work, I mean, you probably didn't scrap the resources anyway, so just be sort of frugal when it comes to these plans. If you do have a plan, and you think it'll work, and it's simple, take the initiative, grab some nearby guys if you can, and carry it out. Just do it. If it doesn't work, then, well, doesn't matter. You can just try again, or try somewhere else. Soon enough, we destroyed the collie concrete base and secured our landing. Most of our forces pushed on to destroy the enemy storm cannon to the north and take the rest of the hex. I stayed behind and built because no one else will. And this is the last lesson. Solidify your gains, build a base. It's pretty obvious. You just need to pick a good spot. Not here, because that location's terrible. Put it closer to where the logi's actually going to appear from. That beach is just not a great spot. But we'd done it. We kicked the collies out of the hex, and even better, we managed to land a boat without immediately being killed. I built a little shrine for one of the only tanks that survived the landing. I couldn't find any others. This could be the only tank that actually survived the landing. It's a 30mm Gallant. Sadly, it was stolen less than 30 minutes after the completion of the shrine. So let's recap. We want our plans and goals to be simple, and we want to be able to achieve them in a reasonable time frame. We want intel, we want to scout the landing, identify targets, bridges, watchtowers, observation towers, whatever. Check for mines, check for EAT positions, or anything else that's going to get in the way of your landing. We want our supplies to be in line with our goals, so we need to make sure that we have what we need to either destroy the concrete that we're after, or eliminate anything found during scouting, or just supply tanks if that's what you're bringing. Supplies. We need to bring what we need to accomplish our set goal, or eliminate anything found during scouting that could get in the way, again, of our landing. Delegate. You need to make sure that we're getting squads set up, giving them a commander, and having their comms separate from the rest of your group. If you don't split everybody into squads, your comms will sound like this.
Started at already here.
Yeah, it's 10:33.
Dude, it's only 10:33.
I've been doing shit all day.
10:33.
Just kidding. Splitting them up won't help. Your ears are still going to bleed. Take initiative. Make a plan, execute it. It really doesn't matter if you fail. If you see something that needs to be killed, get some guys and go kill it. Especially if it's someone killing a logi. Last of all, you want to bring friends. Doesn't matter if you're building your own clan or joining a clan. You want guys there. You want the manpower to set up the op beforehand, because if not, you end up doing what I did, which is having everybody show up, but not having the boats, tanks, everything ready to go, and then you've got another hour and a half of prepping. You're going to lose a bunch of guys. In any case, they also need to be prepared and ready for 2 hours of recreating D-Day. And even if you end up failing, everyone will have had a little fun, so it's not a total net loss. So that's pretty much everything I learnt about whale ops in War 94. Just quick thank you to everybody who assisted in planning or just came along for the whale up. It was the best fun I had in War 94 by far, and I hope to do it again in War 95, but considering the way the map looks right now, East v West, not going to happen, so maybe 96 will be a bit better for that. Just remember not to deploy your whales before you arrive at your destination because they cannot be undeployed, and yeah, see you out there.